Welcome to Dysfunctional
Hello?
Podcast. Gil?
Yes.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Welcome.
Good. I'm live on with you guys now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Yo, you're welcome.
Thanks. How are you guys?
You're welcome.
Good, good.
I've been reading. I actually sat and watched the HBO show again last night, just to remind me.
Yeah, I actually caught the beginning of the show tonight, so that's a good place to start, and that's a major reason why I decided to write a book, was
Right.
because the documentary was not exactly an accurate representation of what happened.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to ask
it
you
kind
how
of
you.
it kind of fired me up a bit. I wanted to get the real story out there, which I was promised by HBO, but that ended up not happening. So.
Why HBO? I mean, maybe not the company itself, but people that make those documentaries, they want to sensationalize the shit that sounds good. It's just like it's like the New York Post, but not quite as bad, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but don't forget that at the time the documentary was made, the case was still pending.
Right.
So it wouldn't be in my best interest to sign up for something that was going to not exactly be accurate. I was told it would be an accurate representation. I was told it would make a firm stand for my innocence, and it didn't come close. That being said, I'm glad you guys reached the right conclusion, and I think a lot of people did. But
yeah, I mean, when I first talked about with my wife about this before we watched the thing, she of course saw the headlines and like, oh my god, what the fuck's wrong with this guy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is when the headlines were going out, you probably had nothing but negative responses from that shit. So. But now she sat down and read some stuff and that, and she's like, she's more the only thing that maybe you should have done is told your wife. But I don't know. We were saying, how do you say to your wife, hey, I'm into this?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's one regret that I had, was that I wasn't completely open and honest with her. But just like you pointed out, how can I be open and honest with something like that? I was going to go. I had gone my whole life without telling anyone this stuff. I was going to continue to go my whole life, and it never affected me. I was, growing up, I had a lot of friends. I was a good baseball player. I had good grades in school. I mean, I was the American, the all-American kid.
Right.
Got married. I was a cop. I had a baby, and just everything was going so well, despite what I had going on the side. So I was able to balance everything just fine. I was going to go and not tell anyone.
All right, we're back with Gil Valle. Am I pronouncing your name right, by the way?
Yes, you are. You are. You're not like Pat who says Valet.
Yeah,
but
I was kind of worried it was something like that, because I'm from England and we butcher like Italian and French and those names completely. We destroy them. Yeah, so sorry about that.
No, you nailed it.
Yeah, sorry we lost the stream there for a couple of seconds. We were just talking about my thoughts about how some of these sites and porn in general and even prostitution actually stops people doing crazy shit. Not that you ever wanted to do it, but you would think that this caters to people that have your interests, and you'd think that the government would be like, okay, hey, there's someone people can talk about it safely and no one's getting hurt and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think there's a point to that. Like you said, and I'm glad you pointed out, I would never do anything to harm anyone in real life, but maybe there are people, and the internet and websites like these can act as an outlet for people to just get all the shit out of their minds, and I guess less of a chance they would do something in real life.
Yeah, I mean,
I can only speak for myself though, but I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think that 99% of the people on it would actually have the balls or even the inkling to do anything like you. You know what I mean? No one was thinking that that was going to be what you were going to do.
I mean, think about it also. You were a police officer, okay? You protected people. If you were going to do that, you had, using your role as a police officer, you had such a great opportunity.
Exactly, and not many people have made that point. I certainly had the means to carry out a kidnapping if I wanted to, one more point that people kind of miss is that in the fictional chats and the role plays, I never mentioned, one, that I was a cop, or two, that I had handcuffs and a gun,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff I mentioned in the chats was this fictional mountain house in the middle of nowhere and a human-sized oven and all this stuff that didn't exist. So I never mentioned that, oh, by the way, I do have a firearm that we can use.
Right, yeah, exactly.
That stuff never came up because it was all a fictional role.
I mean, that was one of the things that the HBO documentary actually said right, and it was that when somebody asked for someone's last name, you didn't tell them because it was just a play thing. You didn't need to make it real. You know what I mean?
Right, and people don't like, and I understand that, and this is another regret I have, is that I use pictures of real women that I knew. I downloaded Facebook photos and share them on the internet. Now, when people have sexual fantasies, I think most people, if not all, think about people that they know in their real life. So me thinking about women that I knew in my life doesn't make me abnormal. It's the fantasies that I have that, people can argue that are abnormal. And I mean, I'm certainly, I don't think most people have the same fantasies that I do, but, the fact that they centered around women in my life, the point I'm trying to make is that didn't make it unusual or any more scary. I mean, people think about people they know when they're doing their thing.
If you hadn't had the real people's names or the real people's photos, do you think your wife's reaction would have been different? She would have realized that it was a fantasy thing, and the fact that she saw her name there was the biggest problem?
Maybe. I'm not sure. And to answer your curiosity from, I guess, the 5th or 10th minute of the show, I haven't spoken with her since this all happened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We're in no contact whatsoever. Everything's being done through lawyers and family court. I'm trying to reunite with my daughter, who I still haven't seen.
That's what I was just going to ask, if you've been able to see your
beyond heartbreaking.
child.
People like to make jokes about me and
that's not even funny. I mean, when you have a child, that's your flesh and blood.
I mean, and you got exonerated, so it's not like they can say, hey, he needs supervised visitations, he's crazy, blah blah blah. The only thing you have the record for right now is that they're looking up someone's address, and that was it.
Actually, no, that was overturned also.
Oh, really?
I'm
okay.
Completely cleared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
They charged me with violating a hacking law. I didn't hack into any computer, number one. Number two, let's clear up the myth now since you brought it up. They were saying when I was arrested that I used the patrol car computer and ran 100 women's names, and I had women's addresses stored on my computer. That never happened. That was a blatant misrepresentation of what happened. And, there were no addresses on my home computer at all.
I get the impression... sorry, go ahead.
No, and the other thing I wanted to mention was they charged me with using the patrol car computer to run one person's name, and the person testified in trial that she had asked me to look into something for her. She had gotten into a car accident, and instead of calling her police precinct, she said, I know Gil, he's a cop, let me see if he can get it. So she called me up, and I punched her name in, which I wasn't supposed to do. It's a violation of NYPD policy. But it wasn't a federal crime, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So that got overturned on appeal also. So I'm 100% cleared now, no record.
That's awesome.
Well, that's good. Good for you.
So what's taking so long in the family court? Is it just her being a fucking pain in the ass, or?
Well, it was delayed severely because, as you mentioned also, the documentary left off with the government appealing, and that appeal really delayed family court. We decided to wait until the appeal was over because there was still a small percentage that I could have ended up back in prison if, God forbid, the Court of Appeals reinstated the jury's verdict. So we decided to wait, and that took a long time to play out, and now we're kind of still waiting for a court date. I can't say too much because it's being done under seal, but
we don't want to
it's hopefully being worked out soon, and we're optimistic that I can reunite and see my daughter, who's now 5, and she has no idea who I am, and
oh my God,
it's really sad. It really is. All the joking aside.
No, that's the worst thing out of all of this.
That's the worst thing.
That's the worst thing out of this whole situation, really. I mean, forget about these assholes saying, on the internet and the newspapers, all that other bullshit. You know what I mean? You should get to see your kid. You didn't.
Say what you want about me, but my family did nothing to deserve being completely shut out of her life either. That baby has grandparents here. My brother is her godfather.
Aww.
And they have just been my family's been completely shut out of her life too, and that is just it's angering and it's heartbreaking at the same time.
Definitely.
I wonder, when she reported it to the police or the FBI, whichever one she went to first, I wonder if they sat there and went, they're going to make an example of you. That's kind of the impression I got, because it wasn't anything like as serious as what they made it out to be. but they kept fighting it. They kept fighting it because you know how they don't want to look stupid. So they're going to appeal. They're going to appeal. They're going to appeal.
Yeah, and there was a point, these prosecutors, these are U.S. attorneys. They're not dumb people. At some point they had to realize that they screwed up royally, but it's not about justice. It's about convicting at all costs. And that's something that I hope changes in the future. There seems to be an epidemic going around this country of misconduct by prosecutors. And, so it's amazing since I've been out of prison. I was a cop for almost 7 years, and now I'm like all about things like the Innocence Project, the Marshall Project, people being exonerated after being wrongfully convicted. I'm like on the complete other side of things now, mentally too.
Have you had other people that are in similar situations come to you for like help and advice?
No, not really. People have reached out to me on social media from all over the country. Again, like I said before, I've kind of been dealing with people who get this whole thing, so maybe they have their own sexual kinks and fantasies that they don't want to share with other people. And, I hate saying that I'm coming off as some kind of folk hero for these people. As much as I've been in the spotlight and, tabloid papers, I really want to try and live as normal a life as I can.
Yeah, I think the fact that
this is all kind of surreal, and I have people from all over just finding me on social media and offering encouragement, which is really, really appreciated.
Yeah, and we appreciate you being called on our show. We wanted to talk to you for a while, but obviously you haven't been able to talk about anything until you're ready to go, and it's all sorted out. I think that you've done a good thing, fighting this whole thing, because it stops them doing this shit to anyone else with little or no evidence against you, just what you were typing on the computer.
It was so angering to sit there at these pre-trial hearings and to listen to what these prosecutors were saying. They were talking about that it wasn't just computer stuff, that I was actually doing things in the real world. And, now let's fast forward to the trial, and this is all spelled out in great detail in the book, so it leaves no doubt. But if you look at the transcripts from bail hearings and look at the transcript from the trial, you would think it's two completely different cases, because in the trial there was no stalking in real life. There was nothing. There was no GPS evidence that I was on a woman's block. I mean, none of that stuff ever happened, and it's unacceptable to me that they can say things in a bail hearing that are just completely untrue and nothing happens to them.
Yeah, well, I guess at that point they don't have to prove anything, do they? It's just like hearsay at that point.
No,
yeah,
it's just
and the attitude in that courtroom in federal court is like, so what? It's business as usual. Deal with it. They can say whatever they want, and that's the way things are done. And meanwhile, I'm denied bail. I'm in solitary confinement, and it's that much harder to defend myself.
Yeah, it's the stupidest thing. I mean, how much of this was the newspapers making shit up?
The newspapers were, from what I've seen, and I saw everything after the fact because I didn't have access to any newspapers while I was in prison, but from what I saw, they were just reporting what was being said in court. I really didn't blame the media. Now, the New York City tabloids get a little silly with stuff, but
they always do.
People have made the point that if the New York Post thought that I was this sociopath and I was this homicidal maniac, I don't think they would have made it as comical as they did. I think people got it kind of quickly, at least after the bail hearings were done. I think people got that this case was kind of a travesty and a joke, and people in the media kind of treated it that way. I would always rather have people be, laughing at me and making fun of me than being afraid of me. So I'm fine with the jokes and all that.
Right.
I get it. It's, being a cop helped me to develop a little bit of a thick skin too, and thank God for that, because I decided just, not to hide from this. It's part of who I am now for the rest of my life. I'm never going to live it down. Right. But I'm not going to hide from it either. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do everything a 32-year-old does, and I wrote a book too. So
right, and that's
available.
That's available on Amazon.com and all the good book outlets. It's called The Raw Deal: The Untold Story of NYPD's Cannibal Cop, written by you and Brian Whitney.
Brian Whitney, my co-author.
So I've got a question. I was reading recently, there was some other stupid stories about, you trying to date and things like that. How is that working out for you? I mean, do you try and find people that don't know what happened, and then you have to tell them later, or do you?
Yeah, that was always a question I was struggling with when I first got out, and I was trying to, get back on my feet, and I was working again, and the next thing was, all right, now I want to try and meet a girl. So I created a Match.com profile sometime in 2015, and the New York Post somehow found out about it. I don't know how the hell they found out, but I mean, they're pretty good.
Right.
So they found out and completely blew me up, and Match.com actually deleted my profile, which really pissed me off. It really pissed me off.
That's
because,
bullshit. It's bullshit. They shouldn't even be allowed to do that fucking shit.
Yeah, I had messages from people that I couldn't read because my profile was deleted. So much for me being exonerated. I mean, Match.com decided
you're still guilty.
Whatever. So
has there been any group?
Still, I mean, I was struggling with. All right, if I meet a girl, at what point do I tell her? And I asked a lot of people. Some people said, tell her the first date, tell her right away, just get it off the bat, get it off your chest. Some other people said, wait.
I think
till like
so.
the third date, wait till you guys fall in love. I never really got a good answer, so I decided to just seek out opportunities with people who already get it from the beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I even if you're getting engaged, I think that could easily derail it with the preconceived ideas of what people have said about you in the past. You know what I mean?
have to be honest right up front.
But you don't put it in your Match.com profile, do you? You don't put, "Hi, my name's Gil. I was the Cannibal Cop. Hey, you want to go out?"
No. I now back then, I was a little more reserved. But now, and this is through talking with friends, and I've gone through therapy, and therapy is not just to get it clear. It's not like I'm looking for the therapist to say abracadabra and boom, I'm cured, quote unquote.
Right.
It's about going on with my life with all of this still attached to me. So I decided to kind of embrace it and make the best of it and just seek out opportunities with people. And I'm a lot more open about it now. I've had experiences with women that have allowed me to be a lot more open. And that's, one of the good things that's come out of all this. Now that this is all out there,
right.
I'm a lot freer and open about who I am. And, dating is not completely dead. There are women out there who reach out to me and they're interested, they're fascinated. So
maybe you could do a little bit of role playing.
I want so that actually are Cannibal Cop groupies then.
Maybe not the people who are into the cannibalism part,
right.
But at least people who are into the BDSM,
Well,
sadomasochism stuff, and
maybe you could buy like that pig skin, and just kind of like.
You've been watching too many 70s movies.
Buy the pig skin and you could just like fold it over your skin and munch on that.
I think my wife saw a fucking Silence of the Lambs. But But what do they really think a therapist is going to do? This is kind of something that's just what you're into. You know what I mean? Like you said, you didn't do any of it. So I don't understand. Was a therapist supposed to talk you out of this?
I mean, that's what some people think. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with someone who, and I don't want to say the organization's name, but the person just did not get it. They're like, how can you be going to therapy and not be like, she was asking if I was on medication, and like, I don't need medication. As I said to you guys and people who get it know that this isn't something that's curable.
It's a part of who you are.
It doesn't need to be cured because
it's kind of like the old school parents saying that you're gay. Oh, you can't be gay. I'm going to beat it out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people don't choose what they're into. People don't choose what arouses them. It's just there. It just happens, and you find it through condition. I'm sounding like a psychology major now.
Well,
the whole condition learning thing. You're exposed to certain things, and you realize the things that get you aroused. And for me, it was this stuff. For other people, it's something different. For other people, it's having someone piss on them,
right?
That to me is something I wouldn't do. But
plenty of German movies where they shit on each other.
Yeah,
that's
so
not
there's
a
whole bunch of things that people are into, and the quote unquote mainstream society would deem horrific, and those are the people who just don't understand it. But I want those people who are most disgusted and shocked and fearful of me to still step back and say, all right, I don't want anything to do with this fucking guy, but he should not have been in prison. That's what I want people to get out of reading this book, because it's a very graphic book. It's brutally honest. It goes into everything, my whole sexual the evolution of all this stuff, and I don't leave anything out. And I think that helps me later on when I talk about the criminal case. I think it helps my credibility to get all the embarrassing stuff out there.
Yeah, at least they know you're being honest. As soon as they start reading that, they're like, okay, this guy's probably telling the truth. Why would he put this stuff out there if he wasn't,
Yeah, and while on this book tour, I mean, I've answered every single question, every stupid question, honestly. When people ask me if I still look at pornography, I'd say, yes, I do. Occasionally I look at pornography. Now, that gets twisted and turned into, oh my God, he's back on dark fetish websites.
Yeah.
Which I'm not. I'm not doing role plays anymore.
I wonder if anybody's got your old screen name on there and they're fucking around. One thing I did learn from the documentary is your parents were really, really supportive in it, especially your dad, right? And I'm kind of.
I mean, yeah, my whole immediate family. I think my mother was kind of the face of our family.
Mm-hmm.
She's a tough girl from the Bronx, so she was out fighting for me in public, and God knows what they had to deal with on the outside. While I was in prison, they were dealing with friends and coworkers and all the people on the outside who had to be thinking, what the fuck, early on,
How did it, I mean, your parents had to have been shocked at first, right? I mean, just the subject matter.
Yeah, they were shocked. I mean, of course, they were sitting in that courtroom the first day, the day after I was arrested, they were listening to the prosecutor talk about the charges and the allegations and everything they said I did in real life, which never happened. But my family never believed it from day one. And there were friends of mine who, from day one, they were in my corner. Now, people have come back now that I've been acquitted and I've been exonerated, and people from my past have come back and reached out to me. But I really, really appreciate the most the people who, from day one, never believed it and stuck with me. So in a situation like the one I've been through, a person really gets to know who their true friends are,
Right. Now, you being a psychology major, did that help you when you your defense, or did your defense team just do all the work for that?
No, it wasn't much. It wasn't much psychology involved. We hired this forensic expert, Dr. Park Dietz. He's very well known in the field. He actually interviewed Jeffrey Dahmer, an actual cannibal. He's interviewed all kinds of high-profile people, and he interviewed me, and he deemed, that I'm the furthest thing from a homicidal threat. I'm nothing. I'm not a danger. But we decided he wasn't going to testify because the case ended up being so weak. Again, in the bail hearings early on in the case, I was out stalking people in real life. Now, during the trial, it was basically all chats. Nothing happened in real life. It was just they were scaring the hell out of the jury with these graphic and they are graphic and they're tough to read. I have trouble reading them,
right?
Even though I wrote them, but still, they were all online chats. Nothing happened in the real world, so we thought the jury was going to get it, and they didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think another thing that scares people sometimes is they get those experts that are really good, but then because they get to do the testimony, they get to be cross-examined, and if they've got somebody who knows how to twist words on the other side, it might backfire.
Yeah, I don't think we were too concerned about that. We just didn't want the jury to get all bogged down with science. We just wanted the jury to focus on the fact that this was all online stuff. There were no real world actions.
Right.
And we thought we had them, honestly. We thought we had the jury. I think the closing argument by the prosecutor swayed them in a highly improper closing argument, just argument after argument that they weren't allowed to use. But again, they can do whatever the hell they want and nothing happens. Now, when the judge acquitted me, he acquitted me based on lack of evidence. There was, no real evidence, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't have to comment on the misconduct, but he felt compelled to mention it in his ruling that there was a lot of misconduct here by the prosecutors that might have, if the evidence was sufficient to convict me, the case still might have gotten overturned because of the misconduct. And I cover all of that in the book. And people really need to see what happens in a court case, that it's just, they can get away with this shit, and that cannot continue. It just can't. It's not a fair, it's not an even playing field in a courtroom, especially federal court.
Is there any higher court that if they really wanted to try and fight and go after you again, they could do it, or is it done now? It's 100%.
No, it's completely done. There are no more appeals upcoming. Everything's over.
Now, you must have a civil case against them too, right?
Absolutely, I have paperwork in to start suing.
Yeah, they're gonna.
You damn well believe I'm gonna sue
right.
these people.
Yeah. You know what? You'll get some more girls then when you say, "Hey, I was a Cannibal Cop, but I got a couple mil in the bank."
Yeah, well, hopefully,
I'm sure
this book will work out, and to be perfectly honest, it's tough. Even though I'm out and acquitted, it's still tough to. I'm still dealing with ripple effects. It was very hard to find a job. The only reason I'm working is because I knew this guy. The president of this construction company.
Yeah, I think I saw that in
another
interview.
Happened. Yeah. So, I don't know jack shit about construction, but he still gave me an opportunity because I was in a jam and I needed to work. But I'm making about 35% from what I used to make. And I have a legal case in Nevada to fund, and it's basically bled me completely dry. So people who are out there saying, "Oh my God, look, he wants to profit off of this book," off of what happened in this case, and people who are casting a shadow on me for that, I really have no other options. I have to make money, and I have to support my daughter eventually. I'd love to make enough here to hopefully put away for her college education. It's the least I can do for, her going 5 years without knowing who her father is. It's really heartbreaking, and I hope that this book spells it all out for her. Number one, when she's old enough to look into what happened herself. And number two, I hope, I can put some away for her college education. And, so that's my answer to people who want to criticize me for profiting off the situation.
I think
there are people out there saying that.
I think the law states that you can't profit off it if you're convicted. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting a book out about how the system tried to fuck you.
you know what I don't understand?
No, and you're right, but I'm saying there are people, the people who quote unquote don't get it and think I'm a sick freak, and oh my God, look, this sick freak's looking to profit off of what he did. Now that's true. You can't profit off of a crime. Now there was no crime committed here. That's been established in court. But I don't have many options to make money.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they never. No one ever thinks of what happens after this stuff. You're there, and now you've been exonerated. You're free, but they don't realize that it just goes on and on and on. I mean,
it goes, and you're right, and people miss that too. It's the prosecution completely ruined my life. It really ruined my life. I mean, my family's gone, my career's gone, and it's like I was out of prison, but I had to start over completely. It was like hitting a reset button.
I wonder if
thank God I had my family. I can't say enough about them. I mean, my father paid all my student loan debt while I was in prison. So it was like, this way when you're out, you can just completely start over again. A fresh start.
I wonder if you have a case for being fired from the police department too, or is there some kind of rule that if you're charged with something, you get fired and that's it?
No, I mean, technically I should be able to get my job back, and I have paperwork in. I'm asking for the salary that I would be owed to this very minute because I should never have been fired. So the clock is ticking. I should still be getting paid by the city, and I'm going for that back pay that I'm owed. I don't think working for that department again is realistic. I just don't think, again, with the newspapers following my every move, and I don't think it would be a realistic situation for me to be in a patrol car, someone to call 911, and to have a Cannibal Cop show up at their door. I just don't think it's something that's going to work out.
Wow, that's crazy.
You know what I don't understand, and this is why I'm like just sitting here and I'm just thinking. Okay, so like you can go onto the internet, right, and you can be anybody you want to be, right?
Right.
You can sign up, create a name. You can chat up a person. You can catfish them, fall in love with them, get another person to totally like fall in love and just change their whole life for you. Like get so personal. I mean, look at the whole TV show, right? And then they have all these websites, okay, for people to create a persona, to create, you know, like an avatar or whatever, and
Right.
and role play and do all these things, right? But yet you get arrested for it. What about everybody else?
Well, that's the whole fault police thing.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. If he got arrested,
Yeah, I mean,
what about everybody
there
else
are-
who was on that
yeah.
thing doing the same thing? Why didn't they get
And-
handcuffed and arrested?
Yeah, that's a point that's been made many times also. I mean, there were tens of thousands of people doing the same thing I was. I just think I had very stupid agents. I'm being dead honest. The agents assigned to my case were incredibly stupid. That's the only conclusion I can reach.
Why did...
And to top it, and to compound it, they were stupid and dishonest.
I think that the fact that your wife put that keylogger on your computer and got him all that so-called evidence versus, you know...
Well, it was still all. I mean, it was still all computer stuff. There was nothing in the real world.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah, but that's
they
what
put
I'm
a
saying.
tracker
All
on my
these
phone
other
for 30
people-
days after my wife called the police. They put a tracker on my phone for 30 days. They expected me to lead them to a mountain house. They expected me to lead them to all this stuff that never existed.
They owe you big time.
Yeah, right?
Your
I
wife
hope so.
owes you big time.
I don't think his wife's going to fucking say hello ever again, but...
Yeah,
And
because
I'm fine
maybe
with
she
that.
knows
You know,
that she's
I've reached
wrong.
a point now where we're never gonna. I still hope we can be cordial for the sake of our daughter, because I do think I will reunite with my daughter, and I'm going to be a part of her life, and the two of us as adults are going to have to figure it out.
Exactly.
You know,
For
because
the sake
because
of your
I don't
child.
want to make our daughter any kind of middle person between, you know, her father and her mother.
Exactly.
We have to work
Right.
it out as adults, and
Yep.
I'm willing to work it out. I don't know if she'll ever get there.
Exactly, because your poor daughter, she'll feel that.
I
and
wonder,
it's not fair to her.
I wonder when she left your house and she knew that stuff, and then did she have? Was there anybody else that influenced her into calling the cops at that point? Do you think she was?
Again, I have no idea because I never spoke to her. I mean, what I can tell you is her initial reaction after finding everything was we were going to try and work it out. She texted me, and then I have a lot of text messages between me and her in the book, and people need to see those too.
Right.
Because there was this portrayal out there and it was by her. You know, she testified that I was a deadbeat husband, that I was a deadbeat father, and that hurt me too as a man who really, I mean, I provided for my family. I did everything a father and a husband was supposed to do, and I loved doing it.
A police officer, and you're a deadbeat? Wow.
Yeah, and that's what she said,
Wow.
and that's the portrayal that was out there. Now, that didn't hurt me as far as a criminal case, but
No, that's just disrespectful.
as a man, it hurts
Yeah.
to listen to that stuff. Now, anyone who reads the text messages between us while we were married, I mean, I've showed these messages to a lot of people. Everyone concluded, I mean, this completely changes the whole portrayal of what life was like in your home, or what life was really like in your home.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
No wonder why. No wonder why.
There's a lot in this book that hasn't been made public. It's the truth. This book is the truth. Everything in this book is true, and it feels good to get it out there. Finally, it's been since 2012. We're now, you know, it's been over 4 years that there's been kind of a false narrative out there, and the HBO documentary didn't do dick to help with that.
I wonder if anyone, you know, what you should look into is writing a movie script of this.
People mention the movie a lot. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm just glad my story's out finally, and whatever happens after that, you know, que sera, sera, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Well, Gil, it's been really awesome talking to you. Sorry about that technical issue before. And you can
That's
get,
all right. No problem. Thanks for having me. This was very easy, a lot of fun, and
oh, we're easy, and keep in touch. You know, I mean, we're
we're
not.
I wish you all the best.
Yeah, we're not the people that are on your book tour that you see and then you never talk to again. We're the guys we're people we have on our show become our family. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And what I've noticed with Pat Dixon's audience, a lot of them were able to reach out to me on social media. And if anyone in your audience wants to reach out, I'd love to talk with some of your people. And you can find me on Facebook or Twitter. My handle on Twitter is Gil Valle 3.
awesome.
At Gil Valle 3. So I'm on this like honesty roll. People ask me questions and I answer them. So I'm not hiding from anything. So, you know, please reach out to me if you want to talk, and I'd be happy to meet new people.
And that's another thing that shows that you're innocent about this whole thing, because if all these people asking you questions, if you were lying, you would have fucking slipped up. Your story would have changed,
and,
you know?
People think, I'm not sure how many people anymore think this, but there was this mindset early on that I got off on some technicality. Now, if I got off on some technicality, you would think it would behoove me to just shut the hell up and go on with my life. But I mean, I'm out there, I wrote a book. I'm not hiding from it. I'm in full book tour mode. So I'm out there, people know who I am. And, it's really just about getting my story out, and I owe it to myself and to the people who supported me. I'm hoping that this book gives them some validation, that they were right to be in my corner.
Cool. Before you go, can you just, how to record a bumper for us? Can you just say, hi, this is Gil Valle, and you're listening to the Dysfunctional Podcast?
Sure. Hi, this is Gil Valle, and you're listening to the Dysfunctional Podcast.
Awesome. Gil, we really appreciate it. And again, sorry about the technical stuff at the start, but we got back on track, and your story is awesome and interesting. And I remember, years ago when this came on HBO, you knew right away that they were kind of just they were cherry picking what they were saying. You could tell, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
They kind of tried to say, oh, this is an unbiased view of blah, blah, blah. But from what you're telling us, they missed out all the bits that would have made you look good.
Exactly. And that's what I was told it was going to be. But instead, and the director, Erin Carr, after she did a lot of interviews afterward, and she told people she wanted to make a movie where half the audience would say, I think he would have done it, and half the audience would say, I don't think he would have done it. Now, do you think, again, someone in my situation would have voluntarily signed up for that? The answer, of course, is no.
Right.
So, I mean, that woman is just, she has no integrity. She's a liar and a fraud. And I put that, I explain that whole thing in a book, too. So.
Yeah. And the whole...
And exactly. You had every opportunity being a cop. If you wanted to play it out, do it, you would have done it already.
And the technicality you got off on, if you want to be truthful, is they didn't have any fucking evidence.
Yeah, which is not a technicality.
You're right.
Okay, now if I have one more minute here, the best part of the documentary was the juror. I mean, I don't know if you caught at the end of the movie, the juror says we convicted him based on what he might have done in the future, which is not allowed under the law. They had to convict or acquit based on what I already did.
Exactly.
Not on what I might have done in the future. So that was what we were saying. When I was convicted, we were thinking it had to be, they were worried about, God forbid we acquit him and he does something in the future. That's completely not allowed. So that showed it was a false conviction.
Exactly.
It's kind of funny because Anthony Cumia, right, from Opie and Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah. When he got his divorce, the lawyer made him pay, estimating the money he was going to make in the future. They had no evidence of what he was going to make, but they hit him up for like $2 million, and he was only making like $150K at the time. So they can pull that shit off, these fucking lawyers, That's really crazy, man. That's really crazy. What other interests do you have? I know, just not to get off track with your story, but we like to learn about people, not just their little story and let's hang up on them. You know what I mean? What's your other interests?
I mean, I'm working. I'm learning a lot about the construction industry. I love sports. I'm a huge Yankees fan. I love my college, Maryland Terrapins, football and basketball, the football Giants. I'm a big sports guy,
Good.
I like, again, I do everything. I'm a single 32-year-old. I go out to bars on weekends. I have friends. I do everything a quote-unquote normal person does. And I'm looking to meet women, too. I'm looking to date again. And, I'm hopeful that I'll settle down and have an opportunity to do it right this time.
Yeah, I wonder if you could actually find and marry someone who's into that stuff. I guess you could, right? Why not?
I should be able to, and this will be a relationship that'll be completely open, no secrets,
Exactly.
And as I said before, I have had opportunities with women, and I describe one at the end of the book that, like I said, women are seeking me out, women who are into this kind of thing. So, I've had opportunities. I'll leave it at that.
No, that's fine.
Well, there you go. See, when one door closes, another opens.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? You're legit. You're out there. You put yourself out there. What you're into. It's not like you're lying and trying to pretend like that. Nothing ever. You never even talked about this stuff and you weren't interested in it. You've never lied ever about what you're into. So,
right. And it's just amazing growing up how private I was about all this stuff, and now it's all out there, and things are still overall working out. Things are overall working out. Just the final piece of the puzzle is my daughter. You know, I have to be a part of her life, and that's the emptiness that I feel in my heart every day is because, you know, I miss her so terribly.
And I know as sad as it is, but you know what? I'm sure in her heart she's missing you too, and one day she will come back.
Yeah, she has. I mean, she's only 5 years old. This all happened while she was still a baby, so she has no idea who I am. I mean, they haven't told her anything about me.
Wow, I hope she.
Good or bad.
She's going to once she starts school and she starts seeing other kids with their daddy and all. She's going to start wanting to know where you are and start demanding it.
How realistic are those 50 Shades of Grey movies? They're total shit, right?
You know what?
I've never seen one.
I haven't seen any of them, but from what I've heard, I think those. I mean, for me, those are a little too vanilla.
Yeah. I just think it's hilarious that, you know, women aren't into porn and you know, stories like that, but then all of a sudden they're reading these books. I don't know how someone got into that market. I remember at my job, we had a woman who was in charge of the whole company, and I was fixing her iPad, and she was in her 70s, and I went on her iPad, and right on the desktop, it had 50 Shades of Grey. I'm like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
I must be missing because I never read any of them.
It's supposed to be like that, but like done in a more romantic kind of way, I guess, is kind of how it's. I know I never watched the shit, so you know, doesn't.
Yeah,
I'll
me neither. So
I
I couldn't really expand on that.
Maybe you could write. Maybe you could write the next book and make it fucking realistic.
Actually, I am thinking of taking a swing at a horror novel. You know, I have these thoughts. You know, I'm very detailed. Obviously, I'm a good writer. The FBI thought this was a fucking real crime.
Yeah, right.
I do have writing skills.
You could be another Stephen King.
Yeah. And people have, and I thought of it myself, but people have also suggested that. So I think one of these Saturdays when I'm not doing much, I'm gonna get the computer out and start a horror book. What the hell? Why not?
Why not?
Here's one tip: don't use real names.
Well, I mean, the characters will have to have names, but, you know, they'll be made up.
Yeah.
I should probably put in bold letters, you know, the characters are fictional.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right, exactly. The names have been changed to protect
not
the
changed.
innocent.
No, not changed. They never existed,
I'm
period.
kidding.
They never, ever existed.
Like how they have in the TV show, the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been fun, Gil. Thank you so much for calling the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and like I say, keep in touch. If you write that book, we'd love to hear about it.
Okay.
All right.
And again, you can get your book Raw Deal on Amazon and all. I'm assuming you can get it on Kindle and iTunes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's right now it's available for Kindle, and the paperback's also available. So yeah, check out Amazon. Just type the name of the book or my name, and please check it out. It's a very honest book. It's going to be, there's parts in there that are going to be tough for people to get through, but I think people will get through it, and I think most people will reach the right conclusion.
I'm going to download it.
When you type Raw Deal in, you get his book and a shitty Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 80s.
What's the name of the book? Raw Deal?
Raw Deal, The Untold Story of NYPD's Cannibal Cop by Gil Valle and Brian Whitney.
Awesome.
Yeah, the cover kind of jumps out, too. You can't miss it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, I wish you good with it. I wish you well, man. Appreciate you calling. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Denise. Thank
You're
you guys
welcome.
for having me so much.
You too.
You're welcome,
Take
buddy.
care of yourself now.
Take care, Gil.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.